talked just briefly, I teased you with a little bit of information about geocaching. So let's go ahead and dive right into geocaching. Move that over just a little bit. Okay, so what the heck is geocaching? So geocaching is just, for me and for us, for my family, it's just a really cool way to get out and sort of treasure hunt. It's not a treasure that's valuable that you are seeking, but it's more of the experience. And it's a worldwide phenomenon. I have a slide a little bit later that talks about how it got started. Kind of a cool thing. And basically you're following, as you can see on screen, you're following coordinates to specific locations where people have hidden what's called a geocache. So as they used to say, you know, years ago, there's an app for that, and you download the app on your phone, and we'll talk about how you go through the process in a few slides forward. On screen, what you see is what you're looking at is what you would see on your phone if you loaded in your location. You would see right here, you can notice this is Riverside, right down in the middle there. You see all the green little bubbles. Those are geocaches. Actually, all of the bubbles are geocaches, but the green ones are ones that are sitting out there that we've never looked at, we being me and my family. The smiley faces are the ones we've actually found. And if you see any sad faces, I don't like those. So those are the ones we haven't found, but for instance, this one right here. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. Let's see if this.
Geocaching is an any day.
Check out this little video for a minute.
That can take you to amazing and beautiful places, or even just to a place in your town that you've never been before. There are millions of geocaches worldwide. There are probably even some near you right now. Yes, you. To start finding them, just get out your phone or GPS. Go ahead. I'll wait. Then, create a free geocaching account and you're ready to go. The way it works is simple. Just choose the geocache you want to find, then navigate to its location. What you're looking for varies. Geocaches come in different sizes, shapes, and difficulties. Geocaching isn't always easy, so it's okay to get excited when you discover the cache. After finding it, sign the logbook. Trade knickknacks if you want, and log your find online. When you're done, just put the geocache back where you found it, and you're on to the next one. Hey, it's the other way. There's an adventure happening all the time.
So that gives you a fun little overview. That's from geocaching.com. But let me tell you a little bit more about how it got started. I'm going to close this poll window. So you could read through this if you want, but basically it was kind of cool. So when GPS was invented, back around the year, I think this should say 2000, not 2020, my apologies. Back around the year 2000, GPS was coming on the scene. Sorry. Whoops, I'm out of control. And this guy, Dave Ulmer, was a GPS guy. So he decided, well, let's just try out something fun with this. So he hid a container and people started finding it. And there was another person after Dave that actually coined the phrase geocaching. It was kind of cool. So it began, you know, about 20 years ago. And again, it's a worldwide activity that's just fun to do and pretty cool. So how do you do it? Let me get rid of this poll again. Okay. So how do you geocache? You can sign up for free. However, what we do is we pay a little bit extra for what's called the premium membership, and it allows you to find more geocaches, because as we go through this, you'll get the sense of the types of geocaches you can find. And if you have the basic membership, you can find the certain level, and if you have the premium membership, you can find more. You search online and you pick a cache to find, and then you go find it. So for us, the cool thing that's cool is, like, if you go on vacation and you want to find out some interesting history about the area, You can look for geocaches that are at near historical places. And more often than not, geocaches provide, the owners of the geocache will provide a description about the geocache area or why they've hidden it there, the significance of that area, which it's particularly appealing to me. And that's one of the reasons why we like to do it. So this picture on screen here, the larger picture here is, this is actually Mount Rubidoux. And so there's several geocaches on the mountain and in the vicinity near the mountain. Santa Ana River is there. And this picture here is just showing you a little bit more up close of what you would see on your phone when you download the app. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we describe a geocache that we've hidden, and we'll talk about that toward the end of the presentation. If anyone has questions, just put them in the chat and let us know. So how do you geocache? Basically, if you're in an area, whether you're at home or you're on vacation or you're out of town for the day, you can load up the geocaches in the area, and then you can just pick the ones you want. You can scroll through and see which ones interest you. If they're, again, near a place that you're that's historically significant, you can pick them by how many favorites they have. If you participate in geocaching and you download the app and you're finding them, you can actually, click the heart favorite for the XYZ geocache that you found that day. And so some of them have, 50 or 100 hearts because people like them, and others don't have any. One of the things you want to do when you're geocaching is always make sure that you're looking to see if that geocache has been found lately. And on screen, we'll show you this in a moment, but it tells you the activity that the geocache has had, because you don't want to go looking for one that hasn't been found in a long time, because it could be lost or stolen. But basically, you'll look for it, and when you load it into your phone, it'll give you the navigation, and you go closer and closer and closer. And when you get within about 20 feet of it, it gives you a signal that says you're close. The GPS coordinates should be fairly spot on. I have a funny story I will tell you, though, that when we hit our first geocache, which I'll talk about toward the end of the presentation, when we hit our first geocache, apparently we had the GPS in the wrong spot. So it was rather in one tree that we put it in, it was the GPS was showing it in a different tree. And so the GPS coordinates should be close to spot on, but they're not always exact. So you follow your coordinates, you get close, you read the clue, you read the description, you look at the activity, you can read the hint, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. And then you start looking for it. So it's pretty exciting. You find it, you sign the log. So geocaches range in size from a micro to a large size, like an ammo can box. It's probably a bigger one. And sometimes they have a paper log, and you'll see some pictures of that in a moment. You can sign that. You want to take a picture to show maybe that you were there, but you don't want to ever show the geocache. Because if you show the geocache, then you've given it away for the next person, made it really super simple to find. And then, or you can sign the digital log, and then you get that smiley face like I showed you over here. I like those. So, terrain and type. There are different types of geocaches. They have different levels of difficulty, terrain, size. And so this is actually for real right here. This person that's scuba diving, someone has hidden one in the water. I don't know where. I won't be going. Emmons might go. she might find that. And then it could be simple, right? In a parkway. You'll see in some pictures in the next couple of slides, you'll see some of the ones that are more common, that once you start doing geocaching, you get a sense of them. Some are super clever, super creative. Some are really boring. But if you're trying to build your count of geocaches and trying to get used to doing the searching, The easier ones help you get used to it. So difficulty and terrain can range from 1 to 5. Am I forgetting difficulty, terrain, and something else? Size, yeah. So difficulty 1 to 5, terrain 1 to 5. So some of them you really have to hike for, or you have to go in the ocean for, which I'm not going to do that. But it's kind of fun, and then you can just decide what your interest level is. So camouflage, there are different types of camouflaging. I think one of the coolest ones I think we've ever found, we were in, what is that city? It's by Ventura, but it's inland. So we were searching around. It was, I don't remember what the name of it was. I don't remember anything about it, just that it was super cool. It was in a tree, and it was actually like this leaf right here, you know, tree. It was a tree that had a lot of leaves, and it was a fake leaf. Like they purchased the leaves from, you know, Michael's or something, and they fashioned it, and then they attached it like a regular old leaf. So that was one of the coolest ones I think we found. There's a couple others too. It'll prompt my memory when we get to that spot. But as you can see here, a lot of people used camouflage type material to hide stuff. This one is in a post, like a utility post. This one is down. It probably, I can't see the top of this, but it's down in a grate. And so something was sitting here. Something was sitting here on top of the grate, and then you pull it upward with this, what's the word I'm looking for?
Pulley.
Pulley, thanks, yeah. This one over here on the far right of the screen is like what you'd see in a parking lot, a light stanchion, a light post. Those, I don't like those because they have a lot of bugs in them. So typically, so you got to pull that up, right? Who would ever think that those things pull up? But those pull up. You pull it up and it's sitting there, right? So this is this black thing down here. But generally, there's a lot of bugs in them, and you know it's in a parking lot, so it's not a huge challenge, but you can find a lot of those. So the next page, these are pretty cool. I particularly like this one over here on the far left. This is a rock that has, I don't even know how they did that, but that's pretty cool. This one is like the leaf I talked about. This one's part of this tree, like a Christmas type tree, and it's just an extension. This one's the bottom part of, whoops, sorry. How do I go back? Oh no. Back here. No, it wasn't working. Oh, there we go, sorry. Part of a pine cone. On the right-hand side of the screen, it's actually, I don't know that I'd be a fan of that because they had to do something to the tree to get in there. You want to try to be careful, but interesting thing with geocaching also is if you decide you want to get into it and you start finding them, geocaching, the company, the organization, has a review process. So they will, if you want to hide one, you've got to go through a process to create whatever it is you're going to use and find the location you want to put it in, write it all up, and post it behind the scenes, post it, and a volunteer reviewer looks at it and approves it or not. But they do say things like you can't do anything that's going to damage the environment. So we were very careful when we did our first one, and I'll show you that in just a minute. So just some principles to live by if you're going to do it. Cash in, trash out. Sometimes we take a trash bag with us and pull out any trash in whatever area we are at. We like to leave swag for kiddos because this is sort of a cool family activity or friend activity. Or so we have a bag of those little rocks that you can purchase when you're on vacation in the gift store. You get a little bag of those gems. We stick some of those in there. So if you're wondering what muggles are, it's not Harry Potter, but geocache historically has used the muggle term, and basically just letting people know, letting geocachers know, watch out of your surroundings. Like if you're in Cienega Canyon looking for our geocache, there's not going to be a ton of muggles. But for instance, there's a geocache in downtown Riverside near the monument for the gentleman that was in World War II. I'm drawing a blank on his name. Villegas, I think is his name. We have not found that geocache. It's a micro. Micros are sometimes tough, but there's a lot of people there. So that would be where you would want to remember to watch for muggles. And then destruction is never needed. You never need to, like, you just have to spot the geocache, and then log it and then put it back. So what have we done? On the right-hand side of the screen is a screen capture of some of the 247 that we have found. So we've been busy since like 2015. I went back and looked, and it was about September 2015 that we started together looking for geocaches. And we made a rule, this is our rule, that we don't find geocaches without each other. So one time, Emmons went somewhere for field work and found a geocache. And one time, within another month or two or three, I was gone back to Fort Benning when my son graduated out of the Army, or whatever they do out of the Army, made it out of the Army. And I found a geocache. And then it was like, we're like, we don't want to find them without each other. So that's our rule. We find them together. Some of our favorites. One that I really liked was there was a bird's nest. So it was over in Redlands, and it was just in a community, like a regular old residential community. And it was in a tree, sort of it was like in the person's side yard. Maybe it was kind of part of the city property, but there was a pole that was attached to like a utility pole. Maybe it was a stop sign. And so you had to get this long pole, and then you had to go over to the tree and use the pole in the tree to get this little, like, hook this little fake bird's nest and bring it down. And that was a geocache. It was like super cool. Emmons said one of her favorites was this code word to the store owner. So you don't find this too often, but we've found at least one where you have to go into a store or a business or a museum or whatever it may be. And in this case, it was you had to say the code word, and then they told you where the geocache was in the store. So
how did you know what the code word was?
I think it was on the app. It was the hint in the app.
And Astrid's wondering if these geocaches ever get destroyed or moved accidentally.
They do, yes. So sometimes, I can't say this with certainty, but there was a geocache in, when we lived in LA, there was a park near our house, and there was a geocache in a tree area. And I must have looked for that thing a half a dozen times. And I think what happened was, my guess is that probably during a deluge of rain, it got washed out somehow. But yeah, definitely. So when people place geocaches, so for instance, I'll skip ahead a little bit, but when we placed our geocache in Cienega Canyon, as I said, you have to go through a process, and then you are the owner. So as the owner of that geocache, you are required to do maintenance on it. So if someone were to go looking for it and you had a bunch of did not finds, people seeking the geocache can also write to the owner and say, it doesn't appear to be here, or I found it and it's smashed, or somebody could take it. They don't know what it is. They're not part of geocaching, so they might find something like, oh, that's cool, I'm going to keep that. Right. Emmons is reminding me, that's why you watch for muggles, because, they might be like, oh, what is that? I want to go find it. And then they might keep it. So yes, it can get destroyed. It could get lost. It could be, it could be disabled. So that's why you make sure you look at the activity before you go looking for one. That's a really great question. Pinnacles in Trona. So if anyone knows where Trona is, where's Trona? Mojave Desert. So out in the Mojave Desert are the pinnacles in Trona. They're beautiful. So go out there sometime if you're in the mood to see some beauty that's far away. It's drivable. we hiked out there as part of a work thing that she was doing, and we went looking for geocaches. And this one was in an ammo can up near a railway that was no longer in use. And inside of it were, and I guess we didn't see this for some reason when we were scouting it out on the app, but it had like a little book library exchange in there. So you could bring a book and leave a book. I didn't think of that out in the middle of the desert, but that one was pretty cool. We also found one over near San Gabriel, Monte Vista area, that direction. It was at like a water agency property. And I don't remember how we got the combination, but you had to figure out the combination to open the lock to get the geocache. That was pretty cool. Did I get that right? Yeah, got it right. So we've done so many. It's a lot of fun. If I would have, thought about it even harder and longer, I probably have more favorites that are not that I'm not thinking of. But as you notice, I said you can do it during brewery tours. There's geocaches everywhere. If you decide to do it, even if you don't decide to do it, I think you could just go on the website and sign up for the free one and just see where they are in your neighborhood. So we have
Michele, are they easier to do when you're drinking? Because my mom and I haven't had much luck.
Woo! I don't know. I guess it depends. Probably maybe one beer.
One beer, just enough to think creatively?
Yes. I think one beer is a good thing. So let's see what's next. Oh, so I thought I'd give you some pictures. So we try not to take pictures. Every once in a while, I've taken a picture of the actual geocache. And Emmons really gets irritated with me. She's like, you can't post that, because we post pictures on the app, right? When we write, found it, really need hide, or whatever we write. We'd like to post a picture. But I'll show you the type of picture we usually post. So this one is just one of my favorite pictures. So this is my daughter, Zoe. Some of you may have met her. And this is my wife, Emmons. This is in LA in a parking structure. And the geocache is down here behind Zoe's foot. And I don't think it was magnetic. I think it was, this looks like a Tupperware, and I think it was lodged back in behind the piping or something.
It was hidden in a fake electrical box.
Oh, it was hidden in a fake electrical box. That's pretty cool, right? Okay, so I got more pictures. So these are some pretty creative ones. This is like a light bulb, you see? It looks like a light bulb, but it's camouflaged, and it's also more camouflaged here with the fake grass. And I don't know if this was hanging. I can't remember if it was hanging, or it must have been hanging. That one was pretty cool. And this is the typical kind of picture I might take, but I usually don't include the geocache, of course, because we don't want to show people what it looks like. But I usually take downward at our feet or upward at the sky, like this one over here. This is pretty cool. This was attached to this stick, and it was, I don't even remember where it was, but this is like a small bison tube. It's pretty cool. You had to go fishing for it somehow. And this is just another one. I think it's in this tin can right here. Was this one? This was one in LA. This one's down in a pipe. It was pretty neat. You had to pull it up. This one is under the pier at Santa Monica. This is so gross, this picture. Look at this banana peel and cigarette butts. Didn't notice that till now. But it was down in this tubing, I'm pretty sure. It's kind of cool. Okay, so this is, again, one that I wouldn't put on the geocaching app, but it gives you a really good sense. This is our friend Allison when we lived in Los Angeles, and she found it, so it's kind of cool. But there's another picture and one more click, I think, that shows the tree that it was placed near. But it's really neat, you know. They carved it out right here, and they put the, you know, like a film canister, right? Plastic film canister down in there. Close the lid on that. Whoops, sorry. Whoops. This one in the middle here is interesting only because that log is super teeny tiny. So whenever we find those, they're usually in those little, you see in, this is Zoe's hand, I think, or mine, but this is the top and the bottom, I think. of how small this geocache was. So this would be
Wow.
considered a micro. And this little log is the only thing in there, and you had to unroll it if you wanted to sign it, and you had to roll it back up and get it back in there, which sometimes is no fun, especially if you have a beer. You don't want to do that. This picture over here is just a fun one. As you can see, you know what this is, right? In the background here, this is a light stanchion behind me. One of those ones you had to pull up, and then a lizard would run out, or spiders come out, or God knows what comes out. This is the tree that Allison found, that one from the previous picture. It wasn't up in the tree, it was actually down here lower that she found it, but Zoe climbed the tree trying to find it. Emmons is just pointing that out. This is a bench in San Diego, and we found, I don't know, we didn't show the geocache, but that was the log and the pencil. So those are just some fun ones. So lastly, I will just tell you that we placed our first geocache after geocaching geocaching.com recommends that you place 100 geocaches before you find 100 before you decide to place one. Because they feel like after 100, you know what you're doing, right? And I would say that's pretty accurate. It felt like, oh my God, 100 seems like forever, but it's probably worth your time if you want to place one. So I was super excited. We were going to place one in LA when we lived there, but we thought we're not going to be here that long. So then we moved back to the Inland Empire a couple of years ago. I've been on the board for Rivers and Lands for 5+ years. And so I said to myself, why not place one on a Rivers and Lands property? And that way we can get people out to the property, more people already go there, but let's get more people to the property. So we did that. Funny story is we found a tree, for any of you that have been to the property, there's a really cool tree that arches over the walkway, and it's just a great tree. And we were going to place it there. And so did all the work, put it all in the system, and we got kicked back out because there was a puzzler. There's different types of geocaches. There's these type that I've described, but there's also what they call like an earth cache, which is not a physical thing that you find. Well, let me rephrase it. It's like a geology type of thing you might find visually. It's not an actual tangible item, which reminds me, I've got show and tell to show you here in a second. So there's earth caches, there's puzzle caches. So there was a puzzle cache that placed to geocache too close to this one that we wanted to hide on Cienega Canyon Preserve. Long story short, had to find a new spot. So on the left-hand side of the screen here with this star, this is our geocache. We named it Cloaked in an Oak. So you can probably figure out where it's hidden. One of the really neat programs that Rivers and Lands Conservancy does is our Acorns to Oaks program, where we teach school-age children about how oak trees are created and how to care for open space. And I could probably turn it over to Rachel or Nicole or Rebecca to provide a little bit more descriptor on that. Do any of you want to talk a little bit about the program?
So we run a program with Banning High School where we go into the classroom and teach high school biology students about the ecology of a coast live oak grove. We have a little bit of mortality issues with our coast live oak grove out in Cienega Canyon Preserve, and we want to make sure that stand of oaks is there for, well, in perpetuity. So we're teaching the kids how that ecology works. They're coming out onto the property to learn about how to do that preservation, and they gather acorns, do a lot of activities that connect them with the land. They go back to class, learn some more, come back out for a second field trip, and help us plant coast live oak seedlings or work in our native garden that we're putting out there, and basically, you know, get them to hopefully inspire them to become our future land stewards. So we do a lot of community events out there as well. So we often do community oak plantings and guided nature walks. And so if you join our newsletter, you can watch out for those volunteer opportunities and those community activities when they're available soon. So, and of course, you can always go out on your own.
Yeah.
Just to pop onto our site, take a look at where our properties are and look at the map and explore it on your own. We're always happy to hear people are out there.
And you can join the geocaching community, right? Download the app and it'll take you to one of the oak trees. I don't know which one that you guys particularly work from when you're doing the program, but this is one of them, I'm sure. So cloaked in an oak, we placed it back in April. Again, over here, this is the location. So that's starred. What this is telling you is it's 13.7 miles from my home. And I'm going to flip over to this side of the screen. So cloaked in an oak. Again, what I mentioned earlier was when you download the app and you want to find geocaches near your home, let's say, then you it finds you from your GPS in your phone, and it'll show you all the geocaches in the area. So if you were to want to find this one, you'd click navigate, and it would show a line from where you're at to the geocache. The other green button here is the log button. We have one favorite. Now only 2 people have found our geocache. Somebody favorited it. It's kind of a fun story, I'll tell you. We ranked ours as a difficulty of 2 only because as part of the parameters, they say things like if you have to walk more than a mile, you know, you want to take that into consideration. So, and then the terrain, you know, we have some good trails out at Cienega Canyon Preserve. But you know, accessibility might be a challenge for some folks. So the difficulty was 2. The terrain, the difficulty in finding it is 2. The terrain is the 2.5. That's for the miles I just mentioned, and the fact that you have to do a little hiking. And then the size, ours was a small. The description, you can't read the whole thing because this is only the screen capture from the main screen, and then the amount of activity. One of the things, I will read this to you, but I want to tell you a little story. So when we were going to place the geocache, and I mentioned that we couldn't place it in that one area, Jack remembers, I'm sure I told him, I was like so upset. I'm like, I really wanted to place the geocache there. It's a beautiful tree. We can't do it now because it's too close to another one. But I'm really happy that we placed it in the oak tree. So because it gives a little more flavor to the work that we're doing through Rivers and Lands. But the person that found it was the first to find a few days, as a matter of fact, I think it was a day before we placed this geocache back in April. We were out geocaching on our own, trying to find a couple, and we ran into, it was getting almost dark, getting to be almost dark, and we went to the site where the geocache was, and there was a person, 2 persons there. It was a father and son. The son was probably about 10 or 12. And we knew that they had to be looking for the geocache because it was in an area where like people just wouldn't be like standing around looking at stuff, right? So we're like, hey, are you looking for a geocache? And they're like, yeah. And so we started talking to them. And you see over here, right here where it says Sunny 723D, that's like that's who we are. That's our moniker. And so this geocache person, father and son team, is called Berry, B-E-R-R-Y, Amusing. Anyhow, we struck up a conversation with them. We told them we were going to place our first geocache. They have found like, I don't know, they found like 500 geocaches, and they've placed like some outrageous amount. Like they are the owners of 20 geocaches, which is kind of crazy because unless you're retired or just rich and don't have to work, I mean, you have to maintain the geocache, right? So I would never do that many, but they were the first to find it. It was really kind of cute. So we told them, you know, the story, and we said, we're going to go place it. We're really excited. And so they said, oh, okay, well, we'll keep an eye out for it. So the next day we placed it, and then I was keeping an eye on it, like, hey, has anybody found it? And so he had sent a message through the geocaching app and he wrote me and he said, hey, we're here, it's getting late, we're not able to find it. And so that's what I alluded to at the beginning of the hour here, when I said that sometimes your GPS could be off. So somehow our GPS coordinates were not spot on, and that was great that they gave us that heads up. Anyhow, we gave them a clue, told them a little bit closer to where, you know, where to find it. But I'll just read to you what he wrote. It's kind of cute. They were the first to find, and I offered the first to find geocacher a membership to Rivers and Lands. They have not taken us up on it yet. So if somebody else on the call today would like to go find it, I'm offering a free membership to Rivers and Lands. So anyhow, he says, great hide. So this adventure actually started last night when we met the Sunny 723D team looking for another cache in Redlands. We had a good time talking cache, and they said their hide would likely publish soon. Today after work, we decided to go look for some caches near us that have stumped us. I won't read all that. After we mapped out toward the cache site, I pulled over and looked at the coordinates for the parking. Several parking options, so we chose the one that seemed closest to the cache site. When we pulled up, the parking there was another car. That's not a good sign, they said. I quickly put on my hiking boots, grabbed the geo bag and some extra swag. In short order, we passed up a family who didn't seem like they were geocaching or in a hurry. We, of course, had our masks on. And they said we headed on the trail north, then took the turn west. We saw the dad of the family we had passed walking around with his cell phone in hand. No, he is just taking pics with his family. They were worried about being muggles or other geocachers, right? He continues on and says, then we got to the general area and had to wade through some grass, which made us a little nervous with all the snakes we were seeing on Facebook. So we used our walking sticks to hit the ground, stomped, and made a lot of noise. We crawled up under the branches of a huge oak tree, which seemed like it would have to be the GZ, which is like the coordinates. However, the coordinates direct us to a tree further north. Took a little path to another oak that was even more impressive. So we were like, this is it. We looked all over, followed the hints. We both climbed the tree thinking it might be up there since the attributes did not say tree climbing was not required. I will pause and tell you that I've added that to the description. I made sure to tell people you don't have to climb and you don't have to damage the canopy of the tree. There are ways to get in, okay? Trying to be really careful. Anyhow, it says, after a while, I'm like, the CO was really concerned about making something. Hold on, extra swag. Okay, here we go. The CO was really concerned about making sure there was not damage done getting into the canopy, so it has to be moderately easy. Surely I shouldn't be on my belly crawling under branches. It was starting to get dark. We ate some humble pie and decided to message the CO to see if we could get some help. I'm so glad we did. The CO was great. It wasn't too much longer and we had the cache in hand. This is a great container and very creative attachment. I'm glad we brought some swag to trade because there was a neat compass in there that Geo Boy loved. This is his new favorite cache now because of the compass. That's a funny story too, because that compass was from HDR and we have a board member that is from HDR. So there've only been 2 people that have found our geocache. So I'm really excited if anyone listening in today to this description of how to geocache wants to go find it. I think that is the end of my formal presentation. And I'm happy if anyone has any questions.
So Astrid was wondering if earth caching is more common in rural areas.
I don't think so. It's earth caching is for geology. You know what I might try to do? Emmons, you can come talk. I have a co-presenter. Wait, let me not share my.
I can see. I'm right there.
Yeah, but they can't see you.
Yes, they can.
Okay.
Hi. So earth caches are a little bit different. They're designed by typically some kind of earth scientist. And so there's a lesson involved. And so you definitely want to plan ahead if you're going to do one of those, because it'll be some background information, and then you can go to the site and sometimes you're finding faults, or there's one in San Bernardino that lets you see some geothermal activity. And so you have to answer a couple questions to score the find for those. But those are cool. We do those too.
And Jack wants to know if a poison oak is considered a muggle.
Poison oak is considered my muggle, I suppose, my Voldemort. I don't know. Poison oak, yeah. Be careful when you're out there. That's a really good point, Jack. People are muggles, so yeah. I should tell you, if you can see this, and I can take down my background if you can't. This is my little geocache kit. So I carry this in my bag all the time. I guess I'm a nerd. This is kind of cool. Can you see this thing?
Mm-hmm.
This is like an extender that's magnetic, and that way you can put it on something that's magnetic. Oftentimes the geocaches that are micros or small, if you remember the one of the pictures back a little bit, let me see if I can go back and show you. Whoops. Sorry. Try again. Okay, well, anyhow, back here, sometimes geocaches like this one right here, they're magnetic. It's like a bolt, or it's metal. So we have found some that are little, like the top of a bolt head, and it's just literally, that's all it is. It's so small. So you want to, if you're going to geocache, you don't have to carry it with you all the time like me, like a nerd, but you want some tools. So we've got that one. Then you got a little, can you see this? This is like a little screwdriver, because you never know. And you always want to bring a pen. This is our bag of swag. So I've got my little doodads, my little things you can put in there. This is some, so the folks from the Rivers and Land staff, you know, the volunteer Daniel Caez, C-A-E-Z. Yeah, Rachel's shaking her head. He sent me some money from a foreign land that he had. Like, I don't know what these are worth, but he sent me some money so I could put it in geocaching. Oh, there is one other thing. Look, I have this weird little tool. Sometimes comes in handy. I would tell you there is one other thing I didn't get a chance to talk about. We don't have time, but this right here, this is called a trackable or a travel bug. So it actually also has a number. You can see the number here. Basically, sometimes you'll find these in geocaches, and it generally will tell you. So this does not necessarily doesn't likely belong to whoever placed the geocache. This belongs to somebody else, a geocacher that decided they want a travel bug. And so a travel bug typically has a mission, and it wants to do something or go somewhere. This one, unfortunately, was from Illinois, and we brought it home. I didn't really mean to, but now it's here, and it belongs to it says, I am a Unite for Diabetes travel bug. Help me travel from cache to cache. Visit geocaching.com to learn more about me and tell your story. Unite for Diabetes. So I wanted to go to Chicago, and I inadvertently brought it to Southern California. So I'm trying to find a geocache that I could put it in that's more popular and visited more often, so it can get back toward Chicago. So have a toolkit, that'll come in handy. And thank you for letting me talk all about geocaching.
So if you're going to do the earth caching, is that a separate app than the one you're using for same app? Is it just a different screen, or?
Yeah, well, if you'd like, if you want me to continue on for a moment, I can go on the internet here and show you. It's just a different icon. It's just a different icon.
Okay.
So for instance, let's go back here real quick, and then I can also go on the internet. Wait, one more back, this one. So when you see this big map, so this is Riverside, Glen Avon, West Colton, Redlands. Let's see, the green ones are the regular ones. The blue question marks are the puzzlers. And I don't remember what these are. The orange ones, do you remember?
The orange ones are multiple things you have to find.
Oh, yeah, we don't do those. The orange ones are multiple things you have to find. Like multiple geocaches. And I'm not seeing one here, but
There's no earth caches here. There's one in San Bernardino.
There's no earth caches in this vicinity of geocaches, but there's one in San Bernardino is the closest one. We found one at Doheny Park by the beach. That was pretty cool. That was, yeah, we've done some defined fossils as well. And, but you can see just from this snapshot here, just of this region, what is this, maybe like, I don't know how many square miles, but it's not a huge area that you're looking at on screen right here. And that's what, probably 200 geocaches maybe. So they're worldwide. It's pretty cool. I'm addicted.
Well, you've made a believer out of Nicole. She says she's downloading the app now.
Yay. All right, any more questions? Happy to stay on. I can keep talking about it forever.
Jack wants to know if Earth caches are always a geology feature.
Almost always. Geoscience.
Emmon says almost always.
Geoscience.
Geoscience.
Yeah.
Geoscience. They're related to geoscience things.
So there's a lesson.
Do you want me to show you one? I can go on the internet and do it if you'd like.
Sure.
Okay, let's get out
I
of
was
this.
wondering if there ever some other natural history feature, like a particular plant or something.
You know, I haven't seen any that are specifically plant or biology related. It's almost always something to do with geology. I know a lot of homeschool teachers, so like parents who do homeschooling, use them as part of the natural sciences. But they are super into collaborating. So if you ever wanted to branch out and do more bio-related stuff, I'm sure they would be very open to it. It just needs some drive, you know, because it's, I mean, I don't think they make a lot of money. I mean, our premium membership is like $30 a year, which works out to a couple dollars a month we get plenty of fun outside. So I'm sure they're open.
I'm going to share my screen again. I'm just doing a filter to show only the Earth caches. Yeah, there's none. There's like none around here. Oop, going the wrong way. Okay, sorry. I have this mouse that is like very sensitive. I don't think I'm sharing my screen yet, am I?
No.
Okay, let me go back to sharing my screen and I will show you. Okay. So these are these little blue dots. On the left-hand side of the screen is the list of the Earth caches in the region. And so Moreno Valley, Rising Hot Rock. So let's look and see what that says. It says, well, it's long.
All long.
Yeah.
These are all lessons.
A xenolith of foreign rock is a rock fragment which becomes enveloped in a larger rock during the latter's development and hardening. In geology, the term xenolith is almost exclusively used to describe inclusions in, how do you say ingenious? Ingenious. It says ingenious.
Igneous.
Thank you. Igneous rock during magma emplacement. I should have Emmons read this. She's a geologist. Okay, so there's Moreno Valley. There's, what's here in Colton? There is one here in Colton. What's that? A little closer. Where'd it go? Looks like there's several over here between Corona and Orange County. So you have to climb the mountain to get up there.
This is xenolith.
Oh, what is that called?
That's the xenolith, like you were just talking about.
That's xenolith.
Oh,
Just like on your computer.
Sorry.
cool.
So this is from the mantle, this green part. That's peridotite or peridot in jewelry. And this is some basalt. So this was coughed up by a volcano. And this chunk of the mantle basically got ripped off on its way up and this was spit out. So if you go to that earth caching site, you could potentially find something as cool as this, although I don't know, that's pretty cool.
So that's exciting. Where'd they all go? Here's one. Okay, Valley Gardens. This is Things Are Hot in San Bernardino. That is true. Geothermal energy. over in San Bernardino. So yeah, there's, you know, I don't know, there's about a dozen or so in the region. Good question. Any more questions?
I don't see any more. I think we're good.
Okay. All right.
Well, thank you so much for doing this for us, Michele, and we'll get this video up so maybe we can inspire other folks to give this a try.
Absolutely.
And make it out to Cienega Canyon Preserve. And
Make it out there. If anyone on the call on the happy hour is not a member and you go find it, let me know. I mean, you'll log it. But since the very amusing, I told him, I said, there's a membership if you want it. He's like, okay, let me think about it. And I'm like, okay. So it's still, I'll do two, even if he still wants it. Just let me know and I'll do your membership for you.
all right. Well, everybody enjoy the rest of your happy hour. Go have that second beer and stop geocaching.
Only for tonight. Thanks,
So-
everybody. I appreciate it.